My name's Ronald Neal Abbott, and I'm making this video because back in 2003, I came across a photograph. Actually, a friend showed it to me, and in that moment in time, I had an epiphany that of why Donald Trump would win the presidency between the years 2007 and 2023. So the reason Donald Trump won is because baby boomer migration patterns out of the city favor conservative voice over liberal voice in the Electoral College. And the way it works is liberal Democrats tend to move around cultural centers like colleges, art towns, whereas conservative Republican ideologies tend to look for investment properties on the outskirts of urban cities. So what happens, not just urban cities, but they just move further and further out. It goes to the urban centers, then the suburbs, and then the small towns and exurbs. And so there's a migration pattern that is relevant to Trump's win, because after 2007, that's when you get a strengthening in the rural voice within the Electoral College. Up until the point when the populations in the cities get to be really big, that's when the rural voice in the Electoral College begins to have more say within government. And so the target date for this, for the second waivers, was around 2006, 2007. And after that point, you need a media image that is more conservative. But if it's conservative and also, broaches a little bit social liberal, which I thought Trump did at the time, then it would, do exceptionally well in the election. So I originally wanted Donald Trump to run in 2008 because I didn't want to see Hillary get in, because I thought after Bush they would just run Hillary, but then they brought Obama in and gave spacers, so it didn't look, too obvious. So in 2003, one of my friends got back from Lester Maddox's estate sale, and he had found a number of really cool items. One of the items was financials behind the creation of Paramount, and to get Gone with the Wind done. Another thing he found was signed photo of the Apollo 17 moon landing that was signed by all four crew, made out to Lester Maddox. And then he also found this picture of Donald Trump shaking Ronald Reagan's hand. Now, this is just a photocopy of the original picture. But when I saw this picture, I told my friend, I was like the only way we could get this picture to be more valuable is if Donald Trump signs it. And then all these things started clicking in my head about the baby boomer migrational patterns and everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, Trump would totally win after 2007. So then I started laughing really hysterically and just deeply in front of my friend. He's like, what's up? And I was like, the only way we could make it even more valuable is if Donald Trump becomes president, because then we'd have two signatures and two presidents. And he laughed. He said he'll never win. And then I told him the thing behind the migrational pattern, the baby boomers, and how that would give him the Electoral College. And my friend, who's a lawyer and a history buff as well, he goes, kind of had to give it up to me. And so the initial graphs to understand the migrational patterns, you can find a little bit of them in this book, The Roaring 2000s by Harry S. Dent Jr. And he did some really amazing work. He also did The Great Boom Ahead, Roaring 2000s, and he gave some really good information in this book. I mean, if you had followed it, you would have made millions and millions and millions of dollars. If you followed this book but had listened to this one, you wouldn't have made the mistakes that was recommended in this one, because this one says, hey, if there's a war against Hussein, oil prices, then that in a war that negates this book. But anyway, I like Harry Dent. He's an amazing researcher. And but if you want to find out the statistics behind Trump's win, you need to look in the Roaring 2000s, because it gives the migrational curve. I'm not sure if I showed that, but this is the three migrational waves, starting from 1825 all the way up to 2075. And but another application of this was, knowing who would get into the political party. So getting Trump to run, that's all he actually had to do to win. There's no Russian collusion, in my opinion. I mean, I can understand why Russia would want to see Trump win over Hillary, especially with Hillary's State Department's involvement in the events that happened in Ukraine in 2014. So I could understand why they would throw some support behind Trump. I originally wanted him to run in 2008, but he waited till 2016, and I think he was much better prepared to go in 2016. He's done a number of things that are freaking awesome, like killing the soybean industry and seeing hemp legalization. I want to see more of that. We have some pretty important infrastructure projects that need to happen in this country and throughout the world extremely fast, because some climate is changing. And for all the Christians who say climate denial, it's I'll give Trump that, yeah, climate change as it's been proposed by the mass media is a hoax, but climate change is happening. It's just happening in a way that was not envisioned, and there's infrastructure projects that we should have in place before the main brunt of the changes begin to happen. So anyway, I probably talked too much about all that stuff. Now that we got so much CO2, we can probably extend the population carrying capacity, but I'll talk about that at a later date. Too much at once.